In the beginning, when God created the universe, the earth was formless. The raging ocean that covered everything was engulfed in total darkness, and the Spirit of God was moving over the water. Then God commanded, "Let there be light." A light appeared. God was pleased with what he saw. Then he separated the light from the darkness, and he named the light day and the darkness night. Evening passed and morning came. That was the first day. God said, "I command a dome to separate the water above it from the water below it." And that's exactly what happened. God made the dome and named it sky. Evening came, and then morning. That was the second day. God said, "I command the water under the sky to come together in one place. There would be dry ground." And that's what happened. God named the dry ground land, and he named the water ocean. God looked at what he had done and saw it was good. God said, "I command the earth to produce all kinds of plants, including fruit trees and grain." And that's what happened. The earth produced all kinds of vegetation. God looked at what he had done, and it was good. Evening came, then morning. That was the third day. God said, "I command lights to appear in the sky, and to separate day from night, and to show the time of the seasons, special days and years. I command them to shine on the earth." And that's what happened. God made two powerful lights, the brighter one to rule the day and the other to rule the night. He also made the stars. Then God put these lights into the sky to shine on the earth, to rule day and night, and to separate light from darkness. God looked at what he had done, and it was good. Evening came, and then morning. That was the fourth day. God said, "I command the ocean to be full with living creatures, and I command birds to fly above the earth." So God made the giant sea monsters and all the living creatures that swim in the ocean. He also made every kind of bird. God looked at what he had done, and it was good. Then he gave the living creatures his blessing. He told the ocean creatures to live everywhere in the ocean, and the birds to live everywhere on earth. Evening came, then morning. That was the fifth day. God said, "I command the earth to give life to all kinds of tame animals, wild animals, and reptiles." And that's what happened. God made every one of them. Then he looked at what he had done, and it was good. Now God said, "Now we will make humans, and they will be like us. We will let them rule the fish, the birds, and all other living creatures." So God created humans to be like himself. He made man and women. God gave them his blessing and said, "Have a lot of children, fill the earth with people, and bring it under your control. Rule over the fish in the ocean, the birds in the sky, and every animal on the earth. I have provided all kinds of fruit and grain for you to eat, and I have given the green plants as food for everything else that breathes. These will be food for animals, both wild and tame, and for birds." God looked at what he had done. All of it was very good. Evening came, then morning. That was the sixth day. By the seventh day, God had finished his work, and he rested. God blessed the seventh day and made it special because on that day he rested from work. That's how God created the heavens and the earth. God created Adam, the first man, and Eve, the first woman, and placed them in a perfect home, the Garden of Eden. In fact, everything about earth was perfect at that moment in time. Food in the form of fruit and vegetables was plentiful and free for the talking. The garden God created was spectacularly beautiful. Even the animals got along with one another, all of them eating plants at an early stage. God put two important trees in the garden, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, of good and evil. Adam's duties were clear. God told him to tend the garden and not to eat the fruit of those two trees, or he would die. Adam passed that warning on to his wife. Then Satan entered the garden, disguised as a serpent. He did what he is still doing today. He lied. "You will not surely die," the serpent said to the woman. "For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Instead of believing God, Eve believed Satan. She ate the fruit of God and gave some to her husband to eat. Scripture says, the eyes of both of them were open. They realized they were naked and made hasty coverings from fig leaves. God saw how great wickedness had become and decided to wipe humankind off the face of the earth. But one righteous man among all the people of the time Noah, found a favor in God's eyes. With very specific instructions, God told Noah to build an ark for him and his family in preparation for a catastrophic flood that would destroy every living thing on earth, but also instructed Noah to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, both male and female, and 7 pairs of all the clean animals, along with every kind of food to be stored for the animals and his family while on the ark. Noah obeyed and everything God commanded him to do. After Noah and his family had entered the ark, rain fell for a period of 40 days and 40 nights. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days, and every living thing was destroyed. As the water receded, the ark came to the rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah and his family continued to wait for the almost eight more months while the surface of the earth dried out. Finally, after an entire year, God invited Noah to come out of the ark. Immediately, Noah built an altar and offered burnt sacrifices with some of clean animals to give thanks to God. For deliverance, God was pleased with the offerings and promised never again to destroy all the living creatures as he had just done. God later established a covenant with Noah. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. As a sign of this everlasting covenant, God set a rainbow in the clouds. God said to Abraham and Sarah would have a son. His name would be Isaac. He would serve God and obey his commands. Sarah was 90 years old. She was too old to have a baby, but God said Sarah would have a baby. Sarah had a baby boy named Isaac. God wanted to know if Abraham would obey him. God told him to sacrifice Isaac on a mountain. Abraham loved his son very much. He did not want to sacrifice Isaac, but Abraham wanted to obey God. God told Abraham to go to a mountain. He took Isaac and 2 men with him. Abraham and Isaac rode on a donkey and they traveled for 3 days. The 2 men stayed with the donkey. Abraham and Isaac walked up to the mountain. Abraham took a knife. Isaac took some wood. Isaac asked where the lamb was for the sacrifice. Abraham told him not to worry. Abraham built an altar. He put wood on it. Abraham tied Isaac and put him on the altar. He held the knife over Isaac. Abraham was ready to sacrifice his son, but an angel spoke to Abraham. He told Abraham not to sacrifice Isaac. Abraham had obeyed God. God loved Abraham. Abraham looked around. He saw a ram in the bushes. God had given the ram to sacrifice. Abraham sacrificed the ram on the altar. God was happy Abraham had obeyed him. God said he would bless Abraham's family. Abraham and Isaac went home. Abraham had obeyed God. He was willing to let his son die. Moses, Hebrew prophet, teacher, and leader who in the 13th century delivered his people from Egyptian slavery. In the covenant ceremony at Mount Sinai, where the 10 Commandments were promulgated, he founded the religious community known as Israel. David was born in Bethlehem in the land of Judah in the year 907 BCE. During the era of the prophets, he was the youngest of 7 sons and only 10 generations removed from Judah, one of Jacob's 12 sons. After the death of Saul, David saw that the time had come for him to emerge from exile and take over the leadership of his people. Jesus, also referred as to Jesus of Nazareth and Jesus Christ, was a first century Jewish preacher and religious leader. He is the central figure of Christianity and is widely described as the most influential person in history. Most Christians believe he is the incarnation of God the Son and awaited Messiah, prophesied in the Old Testament. On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, or Passover, Jesus sent 2 of his disciples ahead with very specific instructions regarding the preparation of the Passover meal. That evening, Jesus sat down at the table with the apostles to eat his final meal before going to the cross. As they dined together, he told the 12 that one of them would soon betray him. Then Jesus took the cup of wine and shared it with his disciples. He said, "This wine is the token of God's new covenant to save you, an agreement sealed with the blood I will pour out for you." He told them all of them, "I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it with you in my Father's kingdom."